What's up guys, back with another video, and today I wanted to go over what I think are among the top 10 best guns and weapons for Claptrap the Fragtrap in Borderlands the pre-sequel. Now before we start, Claptrap tends to be really good with explosive weapons from manufacturers like Torgue and Tediore, and this is because one of Claptrap's skills, called Load and Explode, can increase explosive damage provided that you reload your weapons. And as you can imagine, this ability greatly enhances explosive Tediore weapons as they become stronger on each subsequent reload, while Torgue weapons also get a pretty nice boost to their projectile damage. But I guess without further ado, these will be the top 10 best guns and weapons for Claptrap in Borderlands the pre-sequel, starting now. Number 10. The Tediore Quickshot Pistol. So, the Quickshot is a relatively uncommon non-unique pistol from Tediore that sports the Vladov barrel. With other manufacturers, the Vladov pistol barrel is often considered to be valuable as it increases fire rate. However, a somewhat unknown aspect of the Vladov barrel is that it increases magazine size, which is perfect for Tediore weapons. And with the right weapon parts and accessory, you can get a Quickshot pistol that's capable of some impressive reload damage. Specifically, you're going to want a bandit grip and the jam-packed prefix for the best reload damage. The one problem I could see you running into with the Quickshot concerns ammo consumption. Because pistol ammo has a fairly low ammo cap at around 700 to 800 rounds, you may find that you go through all of your pistol ammo after a couple of Tediore reloads. So it might be wise to carry some other weapons if you plan on using the Quickshot pistol. Otherwise, if you do want a quick shot, you can acquire one from any suitable loot source, like most of the other non-unique weapons in this game. Number 9. The Tork Rifle. Now, I'm not just talking about any Tork rifle, but I'm specifically referring to the Tork rifle that has the Vladov barrel. Unlike other non-unique Torgue assault rifles like the Torpedo, Spitter, or the Root, this specific rifle didn't get an easily identifiable name and can often be confused with another non-unique Torgue rifle that shares the same name, but has the Bandit barrel instead. The reason that I recommend this particular weapon is because of the Vladov barrel's enhanced fire rate and how it tends to pair really well with certain skills like Drop the Hammer, Living Near the Edge, or All Things Are Welcome. And you can actually get the fire rate really high on this weapon, and when you start to enhance the base damage with Load and Explode, you may find that you have a pretty high fire rate, high damaging weapon that should just carve through most enemies. Of course, like most other non-unique weapons, the Vladov barreled Tork rifle can drop from any suitable loot source, and if you can, try to get one of these with a dull stock, Vladov grip, and preferably the slippery prefix. Number 8. The Nukem Launcher. While I think you won't necessarily need a rocket launcher on Claptrap, you may find that the Nukem is a great choice. In case you're unfamiliar, the Nukem is a returning weapon from Borderlands 2 that basically causes a massive explosion upon hitting a surface and deals a lot of damage to enemies that get caught in the blast. Unlike Borderlands 2 though, where the Nukem often took a backseat to the Northfleet, the Nukem is a much better weapon than the pre-sequel thanks to the fact that explosive damage deals a lot more damage to frozen enemies. In fact, you may find that the Nukem is great for clearing out groups of enemies you've just frozen, as the blast should pretty much level whatever's in front of you. My only real complaint about this weapon is that depending on the parts that it spawns with, it can either have a fairly reasonable and quick reload or a horrendously slow reload like the one that you're seeing here. And the key is to get a version of the Nukem with Tediore parts or the reload speed accessory, which should make the Nukem have the Dumpa prefix. If you want a Nukem, you can acquire one from Flame Knuckle at the very beginning of each playthrough. Number 7. The Systems Purge Oz Kit. While not strictly a weapon per se, the Systems Purge is actually a really nice utility item for Claptrap. But simply, what this item does is allows you to create a shockwave that knocks enemies back and deals a small amount of damage at the cost of 50 O2. And all you have to do is have the projectile hit an enemy, and the effect will trigger, provided that you have at least 75 O2 in total. At first glance, it wouldn't really seem like this would be useful in any other environment other than an atmosphere. However, if you're playing as Claptrap, you'll know that Claptrap doesn't use oxygen, and thus, you may find that you can use the Systems Purge quite effectively in a vacuum as well. The Systems Purge is ultimately a really great tool for stripping shields, thus allowing the player to more quickly freeze an enemy. But if you would like a Systems Purge, you can acquire one upon completing the Eradicate side quest that's located in the Veins of Helios. This is a great item for Claptrap, and it is highly recommended that you seek this one out. Number 6. The Kaboom Assault Rifle. The Kaboom is basically the exact same thing as the Blaster from Borderlands 2, which was a fairly decent weapon that couldn't crit, and had this secondary grenade projectile that would explode sometime after the initial projectile fired. As someone that wasn't really a fan of the Blaster, I've got to say that the Kaboom kinda surprised me on Claptrap, because once you've gained a significant number of Load and Explode stacks, the Kaboom's initial projectile damage is actually pretty good. And when you combine that with some fire rate boosting skills like Drop the Hammer, you may find that you could shoot a decent number of rockets out in a short period of time that are each dealing a pretty great amount of damage. While it's still really difficult to get the secondary grenade projectile to hit anything, especially in low gravity, the secondary grenade projectile does tend to work a lot better in high gravity areas. And you may find that if the enemy is frozen, that both the initial and secondary projectile can be quite deadly, as they'll pretty much together wipe out most enemies in one shot. If you want a Kaboom, you can acquire it by defeating an NPC named Boomer, who appears in Outland Spur during and after the Nothing is Never an Option side quest mission. Number 5. The Ravager Shotgun. So, the Ravager is a pretty popular weapon across both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, and this is because the Ravager sports the Torgue barrel, which gives it very high projectile count and as a result, very high damage. With this said, I would say that the Ravager tends to be more valuable in the pre-sequel due to the fact that frozen enemies tend to be extremely vulnerable to explosive damage. And I think it's fairly safe to say that if you fire the Ravager point blank at a frozen enemy, it's probably going to die. When it comes to Claptrap, I think you'll find that the Ravager greatly benefits from Load and Explode as it is an explosive weapon. And it's also worth mentioning that the Ravager can benefit from one last thing, which will greatly improve your damage on the final shot in the magazine, similar to Money Shot from Borderlands 2. If you would like a Ravager, you can acquire one from any suitable loot source. Number 4. The 88 Frag Num. While not quite as strong as the Unkempt Herald from Borderlands 2, the 88 Frag Num is still a pretty formidable weapon that you're going to want while playing as Claptrap. Not only does the 88 Frag Num have synergy with a number of Claptrap's skills, but the 88 Frag Num also has pretty high projectile counts in addition to increased critical hit bonus. These attributes end up putting the 88 Frag Num above most non-unique Tork pistols, as the increased projectile counts and improved critical bonus can make this weapon extremely deadly to frozen enemies. And like the Unkempt Herald, the 88 Frag Num tends to go fairly well with Claptrap's One Last Thing, which is very similar to Salvador's Money Shot. So provided you're combining the 88 Frag Num with the Load and Explode and One Last Thing, I think you'll find that you're able to deal impressive amounts of damage. If you would like an 88 Frag Num, they're obtained from any suitable loot source. However, I would say that your best bet is to try and grind a purple rarity Tork Pistol along with 2 other legendary weapons in the grinder as a means of obtaining this weapon more reliably. Number 3. The IVF SMG. If you're looking for the best Tediore reload weapon from Borderlands the pre-sequel's vanilla game, it's gotta be the IVF. While the IVF is basically a clone of Borderlands 2's Baby Maker, it's actually an improvement in the sense that it tends to spawn 2 child grenades on a more consistent basis. While the original Baby Maker can also spawn 2 child grenades, I think you'll find that more often than not, it's usually spawning just 1. The reason for this is that the IVF's name is an acronym for in vitro fertilization, which is a process in which an egg and sperm are combined outside of a woman's body, and this particular procedure has a higher chance of producing twins. Hence, why you tend to get 2 child grenades more often. Like other explosive Tediore weapons, the IVF is great on Claptrap because of its synergy with Load and Explode. but keep in mind that this only works with explosive variants, as Load and Explode boosts explosive damage rather than elemental or grenade damage. But if you would like an IVF, you could try farming one from the Bosun in Pity's Fall, or you can create one in the Grinder in Concordia. Number 2. The Laser Disker Laser. If you're looking for the best Tediore reload weapon from the pre-sequels DLC, it's definitely the Laser Disker. Like the IVF and other Tediore weapons, the Laser Disker is highly recommended due to its synergy with Load and Explode. And while the IVF may excel when it comes to overall DPS, as it has the ability to reload faster, the Laser Disker is capable of very high damage per reload and tends to consume less ammo per reload. So if you're going to be doing a lot of mobbing, you may find that the Laser Disker is actually a little bit better suited for that when compared to the IVF. However, I also think you'll find that the Laser Disker's reload can definitely hold its own up against bosses like Iwajira. So if you're looking for an alternative to the IVF, you may find that the Laser Disker is an excellent choice. Otherwise, I don't think there's a whole lot else to this particular weapon, and if you would like one, you can farm for it from Shadow Trap in the Cortex during the End of the Line quest. Otherwise, you'll have to get him to spawn during round 3 of the Elite Haxor's side quest mission. And finally, number 1, the Phrygia SMG. In and of itself, the Phrygia is a pretty great cryo SMG. While it's not necessarily the strongest SMG in the pre-sequel, it sort of functions like the Slagga did from Borderlands 2 as a quick and easy way to slag, or in this case, freeze enemies. For that reason, it's sort of become a staple for a lot of players' builds as a means of quickly freezing enemies. In the hands of a properly spec'd Claptrap though, the Phrygia is extremely deadly. This is because the Phrygia can be used to quickly freeze enemies, while Claptrap's Load and Explode and Start with the Bang skills can deal the bulk of the damage. Simply fire enough bullets to freeze an enemy, and Start with the Bang will usually trigger and kill whatever is in front of you. All Load and Explode does is increase the damage of each subsequent Start with the Bang explosion, so it behooves you to quickly fire and reload your weapons for maximum damage. But perhaps the best part about using the Phrygia this way is the fact that Start with the Bang's damage is based on the player's level. So theoretically, you could use an old Phrygia and almost effortlessly walk through certain portions of the pre-sequel without having to get a new version of the Phrygia every time. If you want a Phrygia, you can acquire one upon completing the Imperfect Hibernation side quest. But alright guys, I think that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like and let me know what your favorite weapons for Claptrap are. Otherwise, like this video if you liked it, click the bell to join the notification squad, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.